Good morning, good morning. It's fun to stay up late. Good morning to you. Good morning, good morning. It's fun to stay up late. Good morning to you. For those of you like, oh my God, she's crazy, she's singing. Maybe we should have her committed to an insane asylum. Well, maybe you just don't know your musical history, that song. Good morning, good morning. It's from the musical Singing in the Rain, at least the movie version. I know there's a Broadway version as well. But I don't live in New York or one of those fabulous places where I can go look at theater anytime I want. Right? We have to make a little theater at home. So, do not adjust your YouTube screen. We're just fine over here. You know really why we're fine though is because we're going to go outside today and get after that lawn care. Yep. Because we got some rain coming up where I'm at. So, got a job to do. Got to go do it, right? It ain't going to do itself. Anyway. What am I going to read for you guys today? I was going to do a Celtic cross yesterday, and then I ended up doing just kind of like a 4-card spread, but it went kind of long. So I will start off with some light worker cards for you guys, okay, in case you're feeling that midweek bump, right? Like, another day. Hopefully you got your taxes turned in. I believe yesterday was the due date. Sometimes they extend it if it falls on the weekend, but since it was during the week, I think that was the official deadline. Of course, you can always file an extension. The important part is you actually file. And the government knows how good you've been, right? Yep. All living on that government cheese, right? Oh, you guys, I am in such a great mood today. I don't know what happened. I think it's just the prospect of getting out there and, really making the yard look nice. The ever unfolding rose cracked open. It's happening for you, not to you. You know what I mean? So comes to mind the book of Job, right? Thanks, God. I already have enough going on, but thanks, God. Kind of like how Pharaoh was, right? Did you guys see that they replayed the 10 Commandments last weekend? And Yul Brenner's character is like, it does not matter your magic tricks, la, 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 right? But you know what? Then Moses was directed to keep sending him challenges until he figured it out. Like, this is for real. Good morning and hi Tony, how you doing? Tucker says hello. Hi, back to you. You're already doing it. Stop overthinking. Keep facing your true north. Okay. Also in that movie, the character's name was Joseph, right? Joseph was the stonecutter. The one that saved Moses' birth mother from imminent death between the stones of the giant pyramids that the Egyptians were building, right? So, whatever his name was, but he was a stonecutter. Also in another religious movie I watched, the dad was a stonecutter, but then he lost his eye, so they had, can't be doing that. Sometimes it's like we think we have to prove something, we think we have to jump through a hoop, we think we have to hit this. I have to be on the who's who list. I have to be invited to this thing. I have to right. And the fact is that you might already be doing whatever it is you need to be doing. All right. And like the father that was a stonecutter in that movie, his career was cut short, because he got an eye displaced. And then he had a little slump, right? And then a miracle occurred, right? And he was put back to work. Okay. So again, and he was like cursing God in the movies, like, why did God take my eye? Right? Realizing that specifically happened as part of the greater story. Okay. There's a famous Dead song called The Greatest Story Ever Told. There's also a religious movie called The Greatest Story Ever Told. I know there's a lot of people that don't believe in that and stuff, but, historical figures are still historical figures, so, The Roman Empire did exist. The Egyptian, pharaohs did exist. Those were times. How do you think they got those pyramids built up? It wasn't from a bunch of people that could afford to go to the moon on a random Tuesday. Okay, nobody building the pyramids had $150,000 deposit to hold, so they could be shot up to the sky and look down upon us and say, "Oh, look at the little people." Right? Right? Sometimes we don't know exactly how we're fitting in it, right? But we're still in it. And it's in part because God woke us up today, right? Did he not? Or she, however you choose to, what I mean? I'm not gonna argue with semantics with people. That's something for the trolls to do on the troll channel. You know what I mean? Align your life. Yeah, what is not aligned or needs to change? Dealing with trolly people. One of my Facebook friends, which I think technically we did end up meeting in person a few times, but I think I made the acquaintance via the Facebook medium, right? But sometimes social media can be a place filled with like drama, a place filled with, and you just don't want to be a part of it, right? And like he's like, I'm deleting my Facebook, I'm deleting all of my social media, blah blah blah. Like, I'm not, but you know what I mean. I get it. There's days where I'm like, can I just wall off like this entire section of, right? And sometimes we do have that capability because we can walk away instead of letting other things control us, right? It's the same as when you walk into work thinking, I'm going to get this done today, right? And then the boss is like, I need you to recheck all 150 lines of this. And the big boss wants it like, for his afternoon meeting. So if you can just do it like right now. And you're like, okay, well, there goes my plans. Right? There goes my planned lunch with my mother who was in town, right? Surely the big boss will understand. No, they don't care. But sometimes we have options to say, okay, I'm not on call right now. So, when the boss texts you after hours, no, I'm not dropping everything to care about anything, right? That doesn't align with my goals right now, right? Maybe that work does align with your goals outside. I don't know your whole story. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? But take a minute to recognize what you have control over and what you don't. Right? You're never going to stop people from bitching on social media. You're never going to stop people from bitching, period. Right? What was that one movie, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and his disabled grandparent, bedridden, right? Oh, yes, all they wanted to do was sit around and, you know what? People will complain as long as you let them. Right? And then there's the time where you like put your foot on it and you're like, hey, pivot and march, right? Pivot and march. Pivot. If you're doing the Cupid's shuffle, it's slide, right? Slide. Freeze. Everybody clap your hands. My dog just ran. Let's do I swear she's not a police dog, but when I yelled freeze, she like ran up here. What is it? She was a rescue. Yeah. She's like, freeze on this. I want another snack. I want another snack. This is obviously her snack cabinet. These are like the bacon strips, but they're stick form, so they're not like pressed. They're like a, just a little different texture thing for her. I think she likes. Don't you? Don't you? Yeah, she's like, all your talking isn't aligning with my treat schedule. Right? Those of you that have kids, pets, whatever, caretaking other individuals, you understand. Even when I worked in a corporate environment, and one of the times I got into this one group, and it was just, for me personally, it was very difficult because I'm a very independent person. I don't like to wait around for other people. And it was one of those things where it's like, where are we going to lunch? Where are we going to? And then you had to wait for so-and-so. You had to wait for so-and-so. And you had to wait for so-and-so. Yeah, and it was like you walk at this pace because nobody can keep, it drove me batty. All right, you know what I mean? It was more like, I'm more the kind of person to be like, I'll meet you guys there. Like, if you're riding with me, you better get in the car now because I'm not doing this slow, leisurely, whatever it was. It was like I was ready to get out of the building, like I'm ready to turn on the radio, like I don't want to fiddle far over who can't find their goddamn sunglasses. I don't give a shit. I don't. Maybe that's why I don't have expensive sunglasses, because I don't, I just grab the ones I got. You know what I'm saying? Answer the call. What is your soul calling you to do? It's calling me to get outside and mow. Like yesterday, I was being called to do a reading, but it's like I could not relax and like give you guys my full attention until I knew I had signed off my taxes and sent them back to the accountant. You know what I mean? It's like sometimes there are things, they're not necessarily glamorous things. Some people are like, well, I just can't rest until I've seen the 7 wonders of the world. And I mean, that's great, right? But some of us, it's kind of like, what was that episode of Roseanne when like Dan's like, oh, just let the dishes air dry. And she's like, spots. And they're like, it's okay, you can go dry the dishes or whatever so they don't get all. That made her feel better. When Mariah Carey was famously going through her depression, in her autobiography, she talks about how she told herself, look, I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to do the dishes right now. Okay? And then that's when the cops came and dragged her out. Thank God they didn't murder like they, kind of try to do these days when they just bust into people's houses. Right? I've had them bust in on me before, and I'm like, they were outside. I was like, I had my hands up inside. I was like, okay, come on in. It's like, what are you going to do? Huh? So, sometimes doing those small things that may be unpopular to other people, right, are the absolute 100% things that you need to be doing because it's aligning with you, right? Okay. All right. Yeah, definitely on a mission today. All right. I have not used the old Modern Witch deck in a while, so I will pop out these ladies. This is actually like a mini version of the deck. There's like a larger size as well that's more like this, like more like the Oracle card size, but this happens to be the first deck that was gifted to me when I was starting to use the cards for messages. I'm also a songwriter. I've written all my life. I've written poems. You know, I have an Instagram full of little ditties and doodads and, you know. What do they say? Sing a happy tune, right? Do 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 do. Get you through the day. You know, so some of you really like that. What is that song? Turn on the radio. Is that Def Leppard? Turn on the radio. Da-na-na-na-na. Right? Um, you know, that whole dance like nobody's watching. One of my some goofy dude I knew from high school that was a little brother of somebody. He's like commenting on my TikTok. He's like, does your dog ever look at you and say that you've lost it? Like, it's like, I don't even know what that comment's supposed to mean. It's like, honey, I took dance since I was yay high. So me dancing in my house. But like, who's to say that because you didn't take a dance class, you're not supposed to be dancing? That is asinine thinking. Yeah. Okay. So wake up, start using your brain, and start applying yourself. I don't know if any of you, not to trigger anybody, but I don't know if any of you guys remember the boy from Florida, Trayvon Martin, that was killed under the Stand Your Ground law. And the other day, I just saw a picture of him when he was a kid at space camp. You know, when you're doing what you're meant to do, you know what I mean? You know what you're doing. And I mean, I remember looking in the back of magazines, saying like, space camp, oh my God, that's so cool. But you know, you never ask your parents, that's like asking to go to Disney World or something. Right? I don't know what family you think you came from that can afford all that, right? That's what the answer a lot of us got, right? Like, but you know, man, he looked like he was having a ball too. You know? It's like no matter what other people think of you, right? Wow, the possibilities. When we really start using our brains, right? Love the hoodie. Are you from Chicago? I am not from Chicago, but I have attended some Cubs games. No, but the Hierophant Taurus came up in yesterday's live if you want to go check that out. I really don't do sign-specific readings. I just do call them out as it comes, okay? Because we do have, if you look at your chart, you have aspects of every single sign in your chart. So I do recommend folks go check their chart out. Both your Western and Vedic. I've recently learned there's yet another kind that I haven't even looked up yet, so I don't want to say too much about it here because I'm not really familiar with it. But I do recommend looking up both your charts. Okay, wow, again, Two of Swords. This came out yesterday as well. Yeah. Thinking you're snowed, thinking you have no options or choices. I mean, oh boy. It's reminding me of that blind justice statue. But that doesn't mean that justice is actually blind, does it? Right? Because sometimes we can see exactly what's going on. And you didn't have to show me nothing. You didn't have to tell me nothing. Okay? Hello from Uruguay. Welcome. El Sur de Americas, right? I've never been to South America, FYI. Knight of Wands. Okay, so part of what this person might be trying to do is be flirty or whatever, but like, again, it's like they're trying to be sneaky about it. Okay. So, you know, and they might want you, okay. So, and this person might want you to make some kind of decision, but it, you know, like the tariffs, which are in flux, right? And you're like, look, I can't make a decision on this right now because you're over here and you're overdoing that and you're overdoing this, right? That's what you might end up telling this person, especially if they come in thinking you don't know nothing. And that would be incredibly stupid on their part, but that's part of justice, isn't it? Because these folks don't really think about much going on except, you know, living in the moment, living in the here and now, right? And, you know, it's great to be present, you know. In the here and now, I could say, oh, I'm so cold, I need a fire. Okay, so you start building a fire. If you're really in the here and now, did you even build it outside your house, or are you still inside the house? Do you know what I'm saying? Okay? Again, use the noggin that you were born with. I know. It's amazing. No, we're not all love and light over on this channel. Sometimes the messages come out that way, but this is the post full moon. This might be going on for the rest of the month for some folks. Especially as some people are coming out of the hibernation phase, right? Oh my God. There's so many downloads, you guys. Sometimes it's a lot, and I have to really filter and see how these messages are applying with what I need to tell you. Okay. So, collective, what has happened? What has happened was, right? And what we have here is a failure to communicate, right? Because somebody thought that you were aligned with what they had planned for you, right? And that's why you may have some disjointed feelings. That's why you may be like in the process of, you know, switching jobs, switching locations, you know, expanding your friend group, like whatever it is, you know what I mean? Kind of cleaning that out. And you're cleaning it out because this is that important. All right. And you're not, unfortunately, you're not the only one that's seeing it. There are other people that do, that have been prancing around, right? That do actually see your value. But how they want to do it is like this. They want to like steal it and then put it on top of their staff and be like, look what I got. When they didn't do nothing for it. You get what I'm saying? Okay. Well, who would do that? That's wrong. I know it's wrong. That's part why they do it. Doesn't mean you have to do it, but that doesn't mean it's going to stop them from trying. I didn't say they're going to succeed. Okay? And that, in part collective, also is where you come in and you say, look, you know what I mean? Like, actually, this Ace of Pentacles was delivered to my house. It has my name on it, right? Right? One time when I was in the hospital, they had me sign this paperwork, and then I looked at some of the other stuff, and they didn't fill out my social security number right and all this other information, and I took it back up to the nurse's station. I said, this is fraudulent. This is fraudulent. I hope the videos caught me saying that too, with some audio, so they could see what was happening. right? Be wary of signing anything. The other day, I had a lotto ticket. I didn't really think much of it because the machine in the store wasn't working, to scan it. And so the attendant was like, here, and then she went to scan it. Well, what if that was $1 million ticket? My name wasn't on it. She could have just kept that. People be like, well, they're not supposed to. Well, people aren't supposed to do a lot of things. Somebody said, I see, it's fine. I'm a lesson for wickedness. Yeah. And part of the lesson of wickedness is saying, no, we're not going to let you get away with this. Right? That's mine. That belongs to me. So yeah, the next time I go in somewhere or whatever, I'm not just going to, like heck no. Especially now that the Mega Millions is like $5 a pop. That's just for one quick pick. Shoot. Don't win if you don't play, right? Or can't win if you don't play. That's another thing, collective. These folks are playing a game. That's why they're showing up here as Knight of Wands. It's a game to them, right? They just want to wave their staff around, play fight. I knocked you off your horse. Isn't that fun? And you're like, no. Last time you knocked me off my horse, this hurt and that hurt, and I actually had to go to the hospital and blah, blah, blah. No, I don't want to play with you no more. What is so hard to freaking understand? Right? You might be having that kind of confrontation with somebody, especially if they're getting up in your face, right? And if they don't understand that, you'll be like, well, now I'm going to have to call the law. You can't figure that out, right? Kind of like when one of my exes told me in advance to call the law because he was coming here, which he did, and, terrorized me while I was inside my home, banging on all the doors and windows, eventually broke down 4 doors in the house. And thankfully, the police arrived just in the nick of time. Literally. Because he was in the process of kicking in the door that I was hiding behind. Yeah, he's still walking around in the street like he's cool, right? Mm-hmm. Get a lawyer, people. Get a lawyer and prosecute these assholes as much as you can because, yeah. And he goes around town and is like, oh, I was so abusive. I was this. I was that. Whatever story, right? Meanwhile, he can't afford his own fucking toilet paper. Okay. He can't afford no lotto tickets, can't afford no gasoline, can't afford no car, can't afford no house payment, can't afford no fucking pizza. Okay? So what do you think these types do for their money? Right? That's when they want to come around, take your pentacle, right? Like I said, and see how it's in reverse in this position because it doesn't belong to them. There's people that are starting to figure this out too in the greater, right? But you might not be around to witness that. Do you know what I'm saying? It might be one of those things where it comes across the news and you could be on a work assignment in another state. You know what I mean? You get back home, it's just, and then somebody randomly kind of says, oh yeah, so-and-so kind of had a run with the law again, right? And if you're just like, oh yeah, well, what'd they do this time? It's like, oh, maybe they really got themselves into something this time, right? None of that petty shit that the police can dangle you with. You know what I mean? This is real stuff that has to go to the feds and stuff. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? When it's no longer the locals. No longer the locals. It's yeah. Some of use is going to be put to real good use. Yeah. What they say, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Yeah, some people are about to find out. They really are. Message held for review. That was kindness and thank you about the lottery thing. I'm not saying don't go play the lottery or whatever, but the lady, she kind of commented me. She's like, I got people coming here every day. She's like, I don't know how they afford it. You know what I mean? And I get it. She's working at the convenience store, likely not making a lot of money. She's probably lucky to make her rent and car payment. She's got that going on, right? When I was an Uber driver, which I might do some Uber over the summer yet. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's just, I'm kind of busy with some stuff. Anyway, a lot of the people that I would give rides to, they're teenagers working at, McDonald's or something. Y'all know back in the day when you were working jobs like that, it's like, okay, yeah, you maybe save up for some clothes or something. Like, are you really gonna be able to afford a car? Maybe somebody finds you a used one at a decent price. But I mean, even a used one these days, I mean, you're talking into the $30,000 range. Are you gonna make that working at McDonald's over a summer or two? I don't think so. You know what I mean? The world is a little different, especially. But I live, in a large, somewhat of a larger town. We're not, Whereas where I grew up at, it was more common for folks to have vehicles, and older vehicles at that as well, as long as they were running. Reply, I'm leaving. Bye. King of Cups. Scorpio, Cancer, and Pisces. So this soul call, this might be, the emotional win for you, right? This could be counseling other people as well, being a kind of nurturer, being a kind of provider. You could be a healthcare professional as well. There was a dude I dated, like super brief, like for like 2 months. You know what I mean? Like we didn't even do it. You know what I mean? Like we're just kind of talking. Went out a couple times. He was going back to school, later in life to become a medical professional, which I don't know if he ever became that, right? Like, but, for some of us, we're tapping into that, right? Because it gives us purpose and we know we can be purposeful to others, right? And not relying on, people that want to put us in these kind of situations, have us jump through hoops, have us proving things over and over and over again. It's kind of like, right, again, if you're not Christian, oh well, maybe this isn't the channel for you if you can't handle me talking about anything Christianity based. All right? So, now I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway, forcing you into these kind of, prove this, do that. Whoa, yeah, right. Always asking Jesus, whoa, if you're really Jesus, perform a miracle, right? Isn't that what Pharaoh was doing with Moses as well? Prove it. Prove it. Right? That's why a lot of people want to like test tarot readers and test them and say, you're doing that, you're doing. Well, prove, well, then say what I'm thinking right now. Well, you know what? Maybe it doesn't really work that way because maybe that's not the message you're supposed to be hearing right now. So, who you're proving it to is yourself, right? At the end of the day. And like I said on one of my posts, especially because I have, you guys, I cannot make this up if I tried. I've literally had somebody ask me before about doing spells on people for a certain amount of money, and I was like, what? I was like, if so and so needs some help, I'm like, tell them to go get a massage. Go get a Reiki treatment. Like, why are you coming to me asking about spells and shit? Obviously, again, I'm not the reader for you. Okay. Yeah, Seven of Swords. You may have been around a lot of deceptive people. Again, people that wanted to blind you to the truth, people that said, well, just sit here, we'll be right back. Right? You know, that kind of thing. Right? You go hide in the woods, somebody will come find you later. Pretty soon it's dark, and then, you know, there's like some scared kid out in the woods. Oh, they said they were gonna, you know, and they never did. Right? Well, now you know who your friends are and who they're not. It's not always a lesson we want to learn, is it? But when we realize, it's like, man, I guess what I've been up to hasn't been so bad because everybody's coming over here. You know what I mean? Kind of like when the trolls come over and oh my God, some of the comments the other day, you're nothing, you're a nobody, blah, 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 all this stuff that they were saying to me in the chat. It's like, if I'm nothing and nobody, why did they bother coming here to let me know that? Or are they after this attention, right? They want to be the person on the horse saying, look at me, look at me, look at me. Because nobody's going to their page, right? Nobody's seeking them out, basically. Right? So then they have to come over and harass the collective and say, oh, well, the collective doesn't know this. And oh my God. One time I was up for this promotion at work, and this one dude went behind my back to the supervisor and told the supervisor I didn't know my ass from my elbow. Yeah, my team lead at the time was very upset when they found out about that. Because honestly, even still to this day, if you ask anybody, that particular team lead was one of the best team leads we had, and I trained under that team lead, and they were grooming me for that team lead's position. So the fact that this dude had to, oh, well, the collective's getting somewhere and I'm not, right? I'm going to go into the boss's office and have a little man meltdown and say she doesn't know what she's talking about. Right? You know, planting that little seed of doubt. Didn't work. I ended up getting my promotion anyway. But sometimes those little seeds of doubt are enough to make people, maybe I don't want to deal with that person. Right? And then they see the flash. They see the flash and they see the pinnacle, and they don't realize that that pinnacle doesn't belong to that person. Maybe they got them snowed. Maybe that person is gullible. Maybe they've been lied to. You know, whatever it is. That doesn't mean you stop. Oh no. Because guess what? They be coming over here into the chat. Like the little twits that they are. Do you know what I'm saying? Tarot cards, really. Yeah, you didn't even spell it right. Was the gateway to criminal lifestyle and to worse drugs? He said. Okay, I don't think I got the. Now it's legal in 42 states. Yeah. I think that's about all I have for you guys. I'm already over 30 minutes. Maybe I will give a couple, let's do a couple of romance angels. Yeah. Because I feel like a lot of this spine, whatever this is, collective, it's just folks that are now scrambling because they realize that you snatched your pentacle back where it's with the rightful owner, and now they're wondering, oh, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Because we can steal their stuff. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Again, use your noggin. Use your brain. Especially collective, if you're somebody that at one time people be like all up in your business, right? And then all of a sudden, it's like nobody wants to talk to you. And it's like, well, isn't that strange? Well, what's not strange though is finding out that there's little weirdos around town that want to take credit for your work. We've heard that before. I mean, the first copycat I ever met was in kindergarten, y'all. Kindergarten, the girl was copying off my paper, sitting right next to me. Kindergarten. Draw the letter A. I mean, what? Some people never stop doing that. They just don't stop doing that. I'm just saying how they replace Hayward. From that, what's good? Are we betting game dogs or chickens today? Big shooter. I think I've seen you on here before. Again, I wondered if you were... Actually, Paul, these are Doreen Virtue. You can get them at, your local crystal shop, bookstore. They are available on Amazon as well. Doreen Virtue is a very prolific deck maker, I would say. Okay, so if you're looking for that, then okay, love yourself first. Your self-respect makes you more romantically attractive. Yeah. So the things that are happening for you, right? Not people that are wanting you to jump through hoops and prove yourself, right? You're just like, no, I don't need to do that. In fact, I already did that, and I learned my lesson about doing that, because even when you do, that don't mean they're gonna like you. No, it does not, right? Okay. Retreat. It's time to disconnect from the world. I was talking about that earlier, with aligning, for some people, maybe that means a break from social media. Maybe that means a break from going to whatever religiously. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, you just kind of need a reset. Okay. Paul, do you have any cards that you're advertising here? Is that why you came into the chat today? So cute. Pay attention to the red flags, right, Paul? Tank, I only do personal readings on site currently. So I was accepting online reads, from the general collective, but right now I'm only doing in-person reads. Any thing else that I post onto YouTube should be considered a collective read and not a personal read, okay? So yeah, if somebody's telling, and again, like, and I'm not saying, there aren't like good readers out there and stuff, so maybe reach out to a local reader, and go and sit with them, and and they'll give you, in some places they'll give you, I still see readings like as cheap as like $10 some places. And when I'm doing like fair pricing, I'll do like a single card reading for like $5, 3 cards, $10, you know what I mean? Like whatever, something like that. So, just like Scientology, right? They want you to get more money, more money, more money. This is not, that's a red flag. Because it's like, jump through another hoop, jump through another hoop, jump through another hoop. Then we'll tell you. Jump through another hoop. Well, have you read this passage yet? Maybe that'll let you know. Right? Sometimes that gets into the religious stuff as well, right? And you're like, look, I'm just asking you a basic question here. Like, don't, you know what I mean? Sometimes things need practical answers. And people don't have time for mysteries and games, right? And that includes the lies that people tell about other people. And that includes working with people that believe those lies. That's a red flag. If that's their level of professionalism, Again, you don't have to stay there. The signs are cautioning you. Yeah, exactly. Because again, there's always be that person be like, oh, it's my Ace of Pentacles. No, it was never. It was never. Right? So again, I dated this one guy. Obviously, I've dated. I'm a certain age. I've dated a few people. This one guy I went out with, he would always like take something that I did and then this app that I had that it like download this stuff real easy, and like I found it and whatever, and then we were around some other people one day and he was like, oh man, this thing has this app and blah blah, it's so cool and blah 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 blah. But like he made it sound like he found it and like he did all the work with it and all this stuff, and it's like, and I even kind of looked over at the person he's telling this to, and they're kind of looking at me like, what's he talking about? You know what I mean? There's just some people, they just want to be on that, what they call them, fair weather fans, right? You know, I just want to be on the winning side, right? But often without doing any work. So, again, those people that wanted to treat you like dirt last week, but all of a sudden you got that promotion, and then here they are, hey, 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 when we gonna go out and get some Kanye? Hey, hey, they all like doing this. Oh god, I hate that. I could punch a bitch in the fucking face for doing that shit to me. Go hobnob somewhere else, right? Yeah, deception. So, collective, what some of these folks are finding out is that you are simply, and I'm really getting a lot of masculine energy. It's important that it's the King of Cups that came out. So this is, I think, for a masculine energy here. That's just like, you know what? Yeah, you might have gotten in my emotions before. Yeah, you might have pulled on my heartstrings with that little story about your kids and Christmas presents, right? But I'm I'm now gonna support not only myself but people that I know how to work, right? And do the work. Some of that is emotional work, right? And being emotionally mature, right? Not breaking down in a crying fit every time something goes wrong, so you have to call Big Daddy and they're gonna come fixing it for you. I mean, does that happen every time something happens with the kids, or are you able to manage anything on your own to that feminine energy, right? Right. In my case, I'm a female. There was some karmic male energy around, but a lot of men deal with karmic female energy. So yes, if they come running to you about money now, you're gonna be like, well, what happened to your tax return? What happened to that job you're at? When I drove by, it looked busy. If it's simple questions, then all of a sudden, this big pentacle that they were parading around like it was theirs, yeah, it's not theirs, is it? Because they've been squandering it. And that's what a lot of people don't understand too, is that you have to draw that boundary, because if you don't, you'll end up just like them, in squalor. All right, yeah. Beware of the deception. the Seven of Swords. Sorry, guys, it's kind of that kind of reading, but, I feel like a lot of you have already taken this on the chin type thing where it's like you've already done a lot of healing. You're already loving yourself first. And that's why some people, it's more like it's find out season, where you could just be like, right? You're like, why is this happening? Because you could be like, go read the book of Job. There you go. But a lot of it's just more like, why is it happening for you and not them, right? But yet at the same time they never want to look in the mirror and realize that Thievery Corporation is their middle name. You know what I mean? oh that's gonna catch up someday. Right. Anyway, I will talk to you guys later. Please do like the video. Remember, you do not have to be a subscriber in order to like the video. Again, thank you for some of the chat comments today and mostly being kind to one another in the chat. That's what I am looking for, and that's why I do keep the chat open because, part of our healing involves speaking our thoughts and feelings, and that comes across in our throat chakra, right? So I like to keep the chat open for you guys so that you can express some of what you're thinking and feeling during these readings, okay? I'm not sure if the chat replay is available on the once I repost the video or not. I can't remember the settings, but for now I will keep the chat open. Yesterday was kind of troll heavy, but I do think that it was in part due because I'm looking for a moderator, and when that happens, which I only I did see one of my go back and see if I can actually afterwards as a moderator. All right, you guys. Until next time, because I got to go and mow, right? I got things to and manifest wisely here. We have things to do, right?